All right, can I have everybody call the meeting to order? Can everybody stand for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Minnelli?
Yes.
Laybourne?
Yes.
Tupper?
Yes.
Ingram?
Yes.
Torongo?
Yes.
Moretto?
Here.
Dodd?
Here.
Do I have that from Ed? No.
I don't know if you do or not. We accepted his resignation.
Would I have gotten something?
It was a verbal.
Yeah.
Say that again?
It was a verbal resignation. But
Yeah.
I'm resigning then if I can.
I didn't hear it. Did he say that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That. All right. You said that.
I think
I
he
did.
told village
Yeah.
administration.
But we accepted it at council, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Say
didn't.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He must have mumbled it on the way out then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then no worries. Okay. I didn't hear him. So
I wasn't.
I was sitting next to him. So.
understood. I mean, he knew it going in what it was. So wasn't what he was looking for. All right. Minutes from the July meeting.
Motion
Any
to approve.
I second.
roll call? First, anybody have any questions on anything? Are we all good? Okay. Roll call.
Minnelli?
Yes.
Ingram?
Yes.
Torongo?
Yes.
Laybourne?
Yes.
Moretto?
Yes.
Tupper?
Yes.
Dodd?
Yes.
All right, so that being said, we have 3 cases tonight. I will, in a second, I'll hear the motion to open up ZBA case 21-710.
Did you ask if there's any correspondence?
I did, and there's none. Unless you see
I
something.
did not hear it, that's all.
Oh, okay. Is there something that I'm aware of?
Nope. Not tonight.
All right, can I hear a motion to open up ZBA case 21-710?
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? No, roll call, do you have to roll call that, or all in
It's
favor?
tough to roll call.
Do you have to roll call that? You want to roll call that?
If it's unanimous, I don't think.
All in favor?
Aye.
There you go. All right, Thomas Edmonds, 2555 Woodlawn Avenue, Wolverine Lake, Michigan. Basis for the appeal, 1278.06, subsection B, section 1. Off-street parking of commercial vehicle in residential areas. States the parking of a commercial vehicle having a gross vehicle weight rating of 10,000 pounds or less shall be permitted on private property as described in this subsection. The applicant is requesting a variance to park a commercial vehicle with a gross vehicle weight rating of greater than 10,000 pounds on his residential property. Mr. Emmond, are you here? Hello, sir. Can you stand up, state your name, your address, and what you would like to do?
My name is Thomas, last name is Eamon.
Eamon, my apologies.
That's right. I live at 2555 Woodlawn Street, right here in Wolverine Lake Village. And the purpose, is that what you were asking, the purpose
Yes.
of what I'm here for?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is the zoning board?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Were you in the right place?
Yeah, just to make sure.
I feel that way a lot. No, you're good.
So, my purpose is, I'm asking for an appeal, I'm lowering myself for an appeal on hardship. My wife and I are asking for, I'm not trying to change anybody's ordinance at this point. I'm not here for that type of purpose. I'm here to ask for some type of variance for 2 years. I'll go into more detail on that in a few minutes.
Sure.
But that's the main purpose because we have been operating this business here for 40 years, and we're hoping to retire in 2 years, and we think we can pay our house off in that time, and that's the main purpose.
Why don't you go into everything that you're kind of asking, because this is really your time to do that.
Okay.
So take your time,
All right.
tell us everything you would like us to hear.
All right, so I'm going to have more than 5 minutes?
You'll have as much time as you'd like.
Okay, thank you. Because it said I
Deep
only
breath,
have 5
we're all
minutes here.
friends here, it's all good.
Okay,
Relax, it's all good.
all right, can I set this down here for a minute?
I don't think he might need that for,
Yeah, the podium. yeah.
oh, okay.
Don't touch the two mics.
You've done that before?
They're bad.
We'll do that after. It's like don't cross the streams. Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Well, I guess I can dispense with this because I'm getting more than 5 minutes, so
Yeah, you're good. Take your time.
I don't need that much time, but All right, so I'm just gonna go down the guidelines of this appeal. Variances, hardships, practical difficulty. Does anybody have a copy of that in front of them? It's the guidelines for an appeal.
Yeah.
This was
Yes.
sent to me by Dave, the village manager. So this is what I'm following to try to make an appeal here.
Sure.
Because that's all I have to work with.
Sure.
In the first paragraph, about halfway through, it says, and additionally, it provides a way in which, this is the zoning board, variances to the application of the zoning ordinance can be sought. So I'm here to try to come up with a solution that we can all live with.
Sure.
And I can be somewhat happy, and you guys can preserve the ordinance, and we can, yeah, I'm hoping. Okay, so I'm going to skip down to the third paragraph, and it says, in order for a variance to be given, it is the obligation of the applicant to convince the zoning board of appeals on several items or several points. Well, I don't know if I have that many, but I'm going to try. So, okay, so I've already basically stated what we're trying to do. We're just asking for 2 years to finish up our business here and move on with our life. Okay, so it says to prove the practical difficulty exists, an applicant must show all the following. So it lists A, B, C, and D. There's some letters there. I can probably talk on A, B, and D. A, it says strict compliance with the dimensional requirements would unreasonably prevent the applicant from using the property for a permitted purpose, or would render conformity unnecessarily burdensome. So it's going to be very burdensome for us. I'm going to go into more details about the property in a minute and how we came about having our equipment there in the first place. B, a variance would provide substantial relief to the applicant, as well as provide substantial justice to the property owners in the neighborhood. And D, the situation is not self-created. So I'm pretty sure that means I didn't create the problem initially. Pretty sure that's what it means. Okay. So this goes back to, this started, the recent starting of this is last February I was cited for having a commercial vehicle on the property. And after that I found out, okay, there was a recent ordinance passed last October. I don't know if that's done by your group or somebody else, but it was passed last October. And I'm not going to say that it was legitimate or illegitimate the way they did it, because I wasn't there and neither was anybody else, because it was done, this was during COVID. They passed it. No one could be there. It was done remotely, a remote meeting. So I don't want to go into those details. I'm not here for that type of a situation. I'm just trying to present our side of it. So I then came down to the village to talk to the village manager, which the new one is Dave.
Yes.
And so at this point I want to go back a little bit. Give you some history here now. Not a lot, not all of it. So we've actually had operating our business here in the village, this specific business, for the last 40 years. Between the property that we're on right now and the property next door. So 20 years ago, so the last time that I was here in this basement down here, the zoning board, was to actually have a lot split. And then we got an approval for a lot split then to build the current house that we're in at 2555 from 2535. So when we had that lot split, we had to speak what we were going to build, why we were going to build it. And at that time, I disclosed everything, why and the whole deal. Nobody asked me any particular questions about it or anything. We simply said this is what we want to do. And they approved the lot split and we built the house. Now when we built the house, we had to work with the building inspector. And at that particular time, I spoke with him about, operating our business there, and that we wanted to build a driveway that would house this truck. And what do you need to do to get this approved? So I don't know what he did. I'm sure he had to talk to somebody. I don't know if he had the power himself. I don't think he did. He probably had to talk to the village administrator. I don't know. It came back and it got approved. So we built the house, we built the driveway, we parked our commercial vehicle there, and it has been there for 20 years, and that's this particular spot. Now, in 2014, they started the first, that I know of, commercial vehicle ordinance. So I came in and I talked to the current village manager about it at the time. I think his name was Nathan.
Not in 14.
Well, okay, I'm not sure who it was. Maybe that was 18.
18, probably, yes.
Okay. Someone in 14 was the first, I don't know who it was, I don't remember.
One moment.
And Sharon.
Sharon Miller?
It could have been. But that's, I think, the first time that it came up. So I
Okay.
came down and I spoke with her about it, I think. And just, no problem, just go ahead and park it there. You're all set. You've been here forever, so don't worry about it. Okay. So 2018, it come up again. And that must have been Nathan, I'm thinking, 2018.
Yeah, Nathan was here in 18.
Okay. So I came down and I spoke to him about it. He did whatever he had to do to talk to whoever he had to speak with, and said, no problem, you're fine. And twice now, the word grandfathered was used. You're grandfathered in. Okay. And whether that's a legal term or not, I don't know. I'm just saying what was said to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, it seems like every time I get a new village manager here, this comes up. I'm not saying that's the reason. It just seems like a new administration or something, this commercial vehicle thing keeps coming up and up. All right, I understand. Things change. So, nobody talked to me about it or anything. I did not know there was a meeting last October about it. Nothing. I just get a citation in February. So my wife and I are getting ready to go out of town for a while, and I have to scramble to find a place and pay rent to keep this vehicle, to keep from getting more citations. I couldn't do anything about it, deal with it at the time. So when we got back, I contacted Dave about it, and I was hoping to get the same result of having it approved, because I haven't done anything any different. In fact, we bought a new vehicle in that time. It's completely upgraded. It's not an eyesore of any kind.
What kind of vehicle is it?
It is a 2000. I think currently it's 2006 Ford. It's a flatbed with a small tank on the back of it. There's no construction equipment parked in the yard or anything like that. In fact, this is a picture taken, can you see it? From the inspector. And that's the only view that you can see the truck from. And you would have to walk up in the yard in the yard, take a picture of it at that view, because you cannot see it from the road like that.
It was parked there today.
Yes.
Yep.
So, this is the view you would probably see from the road. Okay, not how close up you saw it, it would be, and if you drove by the house in the front, all you're seeing is the front of the truck. From the other side of the truck, you can't even see it at all. And it's been that way for 20 years. Yeah, so between 2535 and 2555, it's been there 40 years.
Okay.
So here we are, and I'm just getting back to the point of, I don't think anybody in this village really voted on this or anything. It's just something somebody decided they wanted to do. And to me, growing up here in this community, this was a blue-collar community. I think it still is. We're a working-class community. And we're just trying to finish out our career. That's all we're trying to do. We've only got 2 more years. We think we can wrap everything up and try to live happily ever after. That's all we're trying to do.
Okay.
We're not trying to cause any problems, trying to change anything for anybody. We just want to move on.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add?
Okay, just 3 more quick things, and
Sure.
I'll close it out.
Sure.
To my knowledge, unless you have knowledge that I don't, there's never been any neighbor complaints of mine.
I'll let you know in a minute.
Okay.
Keep going.
I mean, there has never been any to me. And I'd like to think that most of my neighbors would support me and my wife. And I guess number 3 is what we're asking, a reasonable solution. I would hope so. Well, I don't think we're asking that much. We just want to.
Okay.
We don't have any other. We don't store anything on the property, any materials or anything like that. It's just a truck parked there that's been on the property between that property and the property next door for 40 years.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
Well, I think you have to identify.
We have to identify yourself, name and address, please.
My name is Connie Newman. I'm Tom's wife. I live at 2555
How much?
Woodlawn Street.
I'll have you come right up to the podium, please.
My name is Connie Eman. I'm Tom's wife, and we live at 2555 Woodlawn Street, Walled Lake. Been in our new house for about 20 years, and we're a 1-car family. And the business is that when we're working with the business, we're very dirty. I mean, our shoes, our clothes, we're very dirty. So when we had to store it, we had to get up, put on one set of clothes, get to the job, change out, put on another set of clothes. Because if we get the material on the inside of our car that's in our tank, we can't get it out. So changing clothes, twice in the morning and twice at night, just so we don't get it all over our car, is a really big hassle. So
Okay.
that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Thank you. All right, this time,
We do have 2 neighbors if you want them to speak on our behalf.
let me keep going and we'll get you there. 1 second. This time, I will open it up to the public who want to speak on behalf of the applicant. Please come up, state your name and your address and what you'd like to say.
Hi,
Hello, ma'am.
my name is Sean Weisenberger. We live at 2601 Woodlawn. I have known Tom and Connie for 30 years. If you've driven by their house, it's immaculate. You cannot see the truck from anywhere except for if you go directly in front of their house to stop and say hello to them. We were trying to get most of the neighborhood or most of the block to come tonight, but some people had functions with kids. Our one neighbor is too elderly to get out the house. So we were trying to figure out if we could present a letter or to get everybody just in our main area. Nobody has absolutely any problem with that vehicle
Okay.
being in the neighborhood. I mean, they keep their yard very nice, one of the nicest houses and yards in the neighborhood.
Okay.
So we do not, nobody that we know of or ourselves object to them
Okay.
having it there.
Thank you.
And like they said, they're just trying to finish out the next couple years to be able to retire, so we
Understood.
would like for that to happen.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Sir, would you like to say anything?
I think she said it all.
Usually best just to go back with it. Anybody else? Anybody else want to speak against this? I see no one. I will close to the public and open up to the board for questions. So, just so I understand this, you've been in the village for 40 years?
No, since 1957.
Let me repeat let me go back. Woodlawn, 40 years? 20 at the one house and 20 at the other?
Approximately.
Okay. So you have parked a vehicle similar to this at both properties for the last 40 years?
Pretty much.
Not the same vehicle, because obviously that's not a
Right,
40-year vehicle. What do you do for a living?
Have an asphalt maintenance business.
Okay. And that you've always done that with this truck, or with a truck?
Yes.
When you bring the truck back, are we talking a dirty truck? Are we talking a clean truck?
It's, the truck itself doesn't change.
Okay,
It's clean.
okay. When you say maintenance, what do you mean by maintenance? Are you filling cracks, that
Yes,
kind of stuff?
Yes. We have a specialty resurfacing business.
Okay. Okay, so you passed something in October.
Right, there was a new ordinance that was put into place, and the 10,000 pounds vehicle weight was what was decided as the threshold of being too large.
Residential
for
to commercial, basically.
Residential.
What's the approximate weight of your vehicle, do you know? Roughly.
You know, I thought about that earlier today of going out and looking at it on the registration, but I didn't, I forgot to. It can't be that much over. It cannot be that much over.
What pickup is it?
It's not a pickup, it's like I would
It's a
say
utility, but what-
a
what's that?
one-ton.
It's a cavalry.
It's a cavalry.
Cavalry flatbed with a
So it's less than 10,000 pounds.
It
I
seemed
work
like-
on trucks for a living, so.
Thank you.
The size of because we had a number of different photos of types of equipment that is above or below that threshold. And when I saw the vehicle today
Were you
parked
kinda
in the
surprised that it's
driveway,
being
it seemed
flagged with
like
us?
it wasn't as large as some of the pictures that I saw.
What kind of vehicle is this?
I don't know that that is.
It is a 2006 called a LCF cab over Ford.
Is it because of the tank that's on it?
How much does the tank weigh?
Brings it over that weight?
Well, I mean,
It's the weight of a 2006 LCF.
I'm not
cab
sure,
over Ford.
honestly. I've
Yeah,
never
but
had,
the ordinance
Here's
is
some
based on the
information for
It's
registration.
not required
2006
when I'm-
Ford LCF GVWR. According to
It-
top,
it'd be-
It's more.
it'd be
so
still
there's
based
no
off the
requirement for me
registration
to
weight.
ever have to stop
Based
pull
off
over
the
gravel
registration
weight.
weight.
It falls way
A
under.
semi-truck without a trailer
Is-
is.
Right, what I'm saying.
Is the tank
Could he accidentally?
empty when it's at the house and you fill it up, or it's full at some house?
Sometimes it's
Yeah,
empty,
sometimes-
sometimes it's full. It just depends on our workload.
No.
I'd say most of the time it's
15,000.
probably half to
15,000.
Because
empty,
of
because when we're done working,
registration. The registration
There's
says
nothing
that
left.
what your load rate is allowed.
Based on this, it's 15,000 pounds.
I don't know, I'm
Yeah,
just being
just
honest.
what you told me it was, I just
I
asked
would be
Google.
surprised if it was.
Yeah, that's what Google's 15 to 16,000 pounds.
And I just want to clarify that as far as the ordinance being passed, I mean, it was unfortunate if you didn't hear about it, but not every ordinance. It was published as it needed to be, and all the proper, proper procedures were followed for that. And I do believe, and perhaps the planning commission person here can confirm that it was actually, the amendment happened because previously, no commercial vehicles were allowed in
Right.
residential, period. So
Right.
this actually was intended to, to allow for that, but to just put some reasonable restrictions on it. So prior to that, it was zero. So this was
Right.
actually an attempt to take into consideration people's needs in the residential area to allow for it, but to also put a you know, some
We
sort of
did have a public
So
hearing.
why would you do
when it
something
was-
like that if nobody's ever complained? If you don't, am I allowed to talk?
Sure, yeah. I don't know if there were, I mean, there must have been complaints
I mean, I'm just saying,
regarding.
this has been a working class community forever, forever. No one's ever complained. I'm just curious. why
Yeah,
this
we
thing-
wouldn't
Yeah.
know who complained.
Yeah,
We don't
right.
have
Yeah.
access to
Yeah.
that.
No, and I can't say either, you know, if there, but
Okay.
obviously there was some sort of a reason for it.
Right,
and-
there were, I believe that there were complaints that were coming about, but I don't know if in particular to your case or not. but-
I think it might have been complaints to the opposite, that I'm not allowed to have anything
Yeah.
here. And then the village went ahead and said, okay, we're gonna allow some of this. And then that's when the.
So again, I'm not trying to challenge what somebody's current situation. You know, I'm not here about that. I'm just trying to.
Oh, no, I
Get
understand.
some help.
Mhm. Just trying to put some background, some
Because-
context to it.
Because technically, under the old ordinance, even a pickup truck that had a name of business was considered commercial, and that was verboten. So that's part of the reason they clarified it.
Well, I know as it stands right now, there's a lot of commercial vehicles in people's driveways, because we walk in and out of the buildings, we see.
So you've got on here December 2022/23.
Right.
Good. Narrow that down for me. I'm only reading somebody's writing. So you have.
Can you repeat those dates again?
December 2022 to 2023.
That you were asking for the
So
extension.
what
Oh, I see. So, no, the extension is from like 2 years from now. Just, that's like 2 seasons.
So it'd be 22 and season 22 and season 23.
The end of 23, December 31st.
That's the end of your season.
That's it. We're over. We're done. We think we can do it maybe in one, but based on what's happened with the COVID and everything like that, I just don't know anymore. We've just had a lot of challenges, but we have some strong hope for next year. The work-wise, looks good. Maybe we can be done, but I'm going to ask for 2 just to be on the safe side. And I'm not trying to kid anybody. I'm just
Yep,
trying to
no,
be
I got it.
honest.
I got it. Guys, questions?
I guess, I appreciate the historic aspect of your situation, and I know Mrs. Stevens had talked about the inconvenience of having to go, but if you do not get past today, like, what option would you have in terms of storing the truck?
We'll have to pay somewhere, and it's just,
Sometimes we're up at 5 o'clock in the morning and out the door. It's early and it's just hard to change.
It probably adds-
Change your clothing twice a day.
probably adds another hour and a half to 2 hours to our day. And, I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm in my 70s, and I'm really getting tired of it. I just want to end.
Hence the retirement.
We're way past, and I'm just trying to pay off our house and be,
One of the things that we did.
That's all.
Before, I think it was actually this year, was give somebody an extension.
Yeah, for the
It was,
6-month
yeah.
extension.
It was an extension.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think 23 might be a little long, but potentially maybe we can go to the end of 22, and then if he can't do that. Reevaluate it then, and if he needs another extension, we can reevaluate it with no guarantees.
Right.
I'm not saying we're going to do that, I'm just saying that is an option.
Mhm.
So, I'm listening to his story. I'm not going to call him a liar, he seems like a pretty honest guy, so
Right.
I'll believe what he's telling me. He's been in the village for 40 years, and he's been parking a vehicle like that. So,
Was there any other correspondence or?
I have nothing. I have nothing, I have nobody's complaining. We have obviously one neighbor. It sounds like there could be more neighbors. One household, how's that? Okay. He doesn't really count, it's just all one.
So is the height or length of the truck too much to fit into the garage?
Yeah. It's just a small garage. It's just not designed for that. And I custom designed that driveway to accommodate that truck.
I understand.
So it wouldn't be, it's not invisible, but it's not.
It's not sitting in the driveway, yeah,
Right.
front driveway, I understand.
Thomas, let me ask you this. You're asking for the end of December of '23. I'm not saying we are, but I'm saying if. We come up and say, we'll give you to the end of December of '22. And then if you need longer, we'll have to evaluate. Now, with no guarantees. That's something that might work for you? Because we do have an ordinance, and, you know, whether you like it or not, and some ordinances I don't like either, but we do have rules. Well, we understand your situation. I'm not saying this would get approved either. I'm just saying I'm trying to find a common ground that we all can leave here tonight and say, we did a good thing for everybody. And we did a good thing for the village.
So you're saying if we couldn't complete by the end of 2022,
You gotta come back, and we gotta reevaluate. I'm not saying that's gonna
All
happen.
right.
I'm just asking you a question.
all right, no, that's reasonable. Yes.
Any other questions?
Do the checklist.
Not for them. no.
Okay.
Is the vehicle stored there over the winter then too? You operate during the winter?
Yeah,
months
because he had
as well?
snow on that picture.
Oh, okay.
So-
I guess I have a question that maybe
It's parked there empty in the wintertime. It's completely empty.
maybe our planning board liaison can help with. What is the spirit of the commercial vehicle ordinance? So what are we trying to stop from having in the village? Is it road damage? Is it seeing commercial vehicles from driveways? Like, what's the purpose of the ordinance? And I think that will help on our answer for this too.
Well, I think Leanne pointed out too that before the commercial vehicles weren't allowed. And so I think is to facilitate having that ability to have some commercial vehicles.
Right.
But I think it's more or less
To keep it more of a
preserve the
residential
nature
neighborhood.
of the residential area.
So some of it does have to do with roads, some of it, I mean, it has to do with a lot of, and eyesight of stuff. But again,
balance.
yeah,
Right.
before this, you couldn't have a pickup truck with a logo on
Right,
it.
that's why I'm trying to understand the
Yeah.
full spirit of it, you know,
Yeah.
what's the.
And I think there was some aspect of, you know, is there a lot of noise? Does the vehicle
Yeah.
have to warm up a lot before it can be driven in the winter? You know, is it unsightly?
Yep.
Does it take up a lot of space in the front yard or the driveway, that kind of thing?
Yeah, there was a gentleman, I think it was on Commerce Road, that we let him for a temporary time as well.
The Snap-on
Yeah.
tools?
Yeah,
Yep.
Snap-on tool guy.
Mhm.
So, there's been a few that
Yep.
we've looked at, so. All right, let's go through our checklist, if you guys are good.
Yep.
Agree or disagree that special or unique conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not generally applicable to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district?
Doesn't really have to do with the building.
Yeah, I don't know
Well,
if this one really.
I would say yes, because of the extent to which the vehicle has been parked at the site. For that length of time, it's been, the property's been used like that.
Now, keep in mind, we have no proof of any of it.
Oh,
We-
that's true.
We agree, we
Right.
sort of believe him because he seems like an honest guy, but
Mhm.
there's no, we have no way to validate that.
Right.
I really have.
Can I
I'm seeing it. It's one of these-
offer validation? The chief of police will validate it.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he's not here, so. can't.
And we're closed.
But yeah,
Which is-
we're, that's, I could tend to agree with that. I mean, I think common sense would tell you, I don't think an elaborate story this long is going to go that he's been here for 40 years, that he's not parked this vehicle. He's got neighborhood approval. If there was an issue within the neighborhood, you'd hear people in the neighborhood coming here tonight saying, we don't want this vehicle. And
Right.
we don't have any of those folks.
Right.
So, I agree with you on that. What about you?
It really doesn't apply. Like, the scenario.
That's the only way it applies.
In the question doesn't apply, period.
Yeah, I
Well, the
disagree
land.
with it because it's
Yeah.
regarding the land
The land.
structure, building itself.
Do we-
That's the situation.
You'd have to apply it to the special driveway that was built for the truck, and that really
do
is
that
not
too.
what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Right.
So what do we do with this question?
Well, you can interpret it as, I mean, I don't see an issue
You could say
with,
two agrees and whoever.
with the way you
Yeah.
interpret
What are your
it,
thoughts?
because it is the land, and if the land was
So
used for.
two agrees based on the
just
truck.
parking.
It's really how they're using the land.
Correct,
not-
yes.
For you-
not the
for truck
structure,
usage.
but
Yeah, you don't have to,
it's the question
Bonnie, what are your
is,
thoughts?
does it
Be too
encompass
literal, but-
everything
I
that the-
disagree
the
because I'm
ordinance
like that, I
applies
don't,
to?
there's not, it's not about the structure.
Okay.
So,
I disagree, same reason.
Okay,
It's just-
so-
it doesn't go.
Not applicable.
So basically, all you guys are disagreeing, okay. All right, agree or disagree, the literal interpretation and provision of the zoning ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district and in the same zoning, and that our variance is the minimum necessary. Again, we have approved on a temporary basis things like this in the past, so I will agree with that. Bonnie, we agree?
For a temporary basis, I would agree to it.
Yeah, temporary.
Agreed.
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 Agree or disagree, the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant, they are not self-created. Well, I think we can agree that it is self-created, because he is parking a vehicle.
Yep. Great.
Agree.
Does anybody disagree with that?
I agree.
Okay. Agree or disagree, the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose of the, and intent of this ordinance. Again, on a temporary basis, I will agree.
I agree.
For a temporary
Yep.
basis.
Agree.
Temporary, agree.
Temporary basis only.
Agree or disagree, the variance will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the general welfare. I think we all agree there.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Temporary basis.
Because, or let's give it a couple reasons there.
We have neighborhood approval.
Right.
Okay.
No complaints.
Minimum visibility.
And it's up, it's kept up.
Yeah, It is the cleanest truck I've seen. that
Maintained.
actually does it. All right, agree or disagree, the spirit of the ordinance shall be observed, public safety secured, and substantial justice done. I think we all agree there.
Agreed. Yep.
Again, on a temporary basis.
Yep.
I will do a motion.
I'll second that motion.
I'll do it first. That we approve ZBA case 21-710 to allow this vehicle to be parked in the driveway in its current spot for a period of time that expires 12/31/2022. And that's it.
I second.
Second. All right, any discussion of the motion? You guys good with the motion? Roll call, please.
Ingram,
Yes.
Strongo,
Yes.
Claiborne. Yes. Moretto,
Yes.
Tupper,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Menalati.
Yes, and I'm going to say that is because we're going to use questions 2, 4, 5, and 6. So you're good through the end of 22.
Thank you, my neighbors.
You're welcome. So if you don't think that time's going to work, you come back in front of us and play enough time that we can discuss it further. I can't guarantee what happens in the future, but you're good till 22. Okay? All right, good luck with you. Thank you. All right. This is going to be the interesting one. All right. Everybody ready?
Yep.
Motion to open 21-711.
Motion, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, this is a case for Audrey, if I say this wrong, correct me, Lipto? Lipto, thank you. Vacant lot, corner of Terrapin and Thurston in Wolverine Lake, basis for the appeal, 1250-06, subsection A. Setback from the property lines, R1B requires a 25-foot front yard or average setback. Applicant proposes a 12-foot and 27.5-foot setback to construct a new home. Ordinance requires a 25-foot and 30-foot setback from Thurston and Terrapin. So, Mr. Lipto, would you please stand up, state your name and your current address, and go up to the podium there, and tell us
My
what you'd like to do, sir.
name's Art Lipto. I live at 2929 Smith Road in Fowlerville, Michigan. And now that I laid it out from the front of the house, it's 25 foot, 27 foot is what it is. And from the side to the road, it's 30 foot in the front because the way the property is, it kind of goes out. It's 50 in the foot and it's 60 in the back. And it's 33 foot from the road on the back side of that house.
Are those different numbers than what you have on here?
I didn't have that. That's what your inspector wrote.
Okay,
I didn't have that at all. I didn't have it marked out until a week ago like I was supposed to.
okay. Does your survey state that?
My survey did, well, if you look at where everything's at on your paperwork,
What I mean by survey,
it
from a
this
surveyor, not
drawing?
from your drawing.
yeah, well, this is from an architect that gives you where the building print is to build on the piece of property. And that's what the whole house is laid out on.
If I may.
You may.
Mr. Chairman. Another issue that is not clear that I just wanted to point out while the board is reviewing this is that there is an issue with the lot size.
Yes.
As has been well noted from the prior 3 cases. And that,
I've been fighting this since '06 or '02 or something like
yeah,
that over
and
this.
that's not specifically stated on the variance request here, where they're only requesting
Why wouldn't we have stated that?
was an oversight apparently, that
Well,
did not
there's-
get on there, but for this particular review, but you should still, it doesn't mean that the board can't take that into consideration while it's reviewing
Sure.
this to say, even if we were to grant the requested setback variances, a variance, it's still not a buildable lot.
It is a
So-
buildable lot,
So we
because
could address that variance.
there's 50-some houses built in that subdivision on a 50-foot lot. So
Right,
there's plenty of proof that it's already been done.
So that it doesn't, well, it currently doesn't conform to the required.
Then it should be grandfathered in, because it was
It's
bought in
approximately
1978.
7,300 square feet is the entire area, and the requirement is 9,000.
Right, yeah, I saw that.
So if you look at the prior appeals,
Yep, I read through
that's
that.
what
Yep.
was involved in. And it's not specifically stated on here, but when you make your review of this, please keep that in mind, and you can address that as well. Okay?
Mark, go ahead. Take your time.
Thank you.
Take my time? Well, I mean, it's all laid out like she said. I mean, our thing is the property is bought in 1978, which your laws went in effect in 1982. Everything else, it was 3 foot from the sidelines, which I gave you pictures of houses that are 3 foot. Right across the street, Tucker's house, he is 3 foot from the property line. His lot is a 50-foot lot as well. The people to the right out at Thurston on the corner, they're telling me that I gotta be so far out the corner, right? The one picture on Thurston and Terrapin right there, and the address would be, let me look at this the way it goes, like this. So, but I think it's 1380, they're 10 foot off the corner of their property, which is the same scenario. If you took that lot and turned it, it's exactly the same scenario.
Okay.
So, I mean, the lot it should be under grandfathered in, because my mother did buy it in 1978. You put your stuff in 1982, is when all your bylaws came in effect. And we have the right to do it. I've showed you multiple times just on this road, where you have the one lot over here that it's, I can't read the dang thing. That's a big one.
You want mine?
Hold on a second. No, I got a bigger one. Okay. So, like that. So you got 2145, he's 6 foot off the property line off the front. Okay? Right across the street, Tucker, he's 12 foot off his property line to the front of his house, right straight across the street from me. And then you got the one over here, the 1380, to the right of that property, or to the left, the way you're looking at it, he's 10 foot off that corner off his property line. I'm farther off my property line than any of these houses are. And Tucker, he's 6 foot off his property line to his property line. Down at the other end of the road, down here on Del Monte, at the corner of Terrapin and Del Monte, he's 3 foot off the property line off that corner. So this is just Terrapin that I'm talking about, that all these things are, you're telling me where I gotta be and what I should be, but you've already set a precedence in my eyes that all these people have already done what they wanted to do. And now, since my mom has owned the property since 1978, she should be grandfathered in pretty much, and I'm pretty close to being, to what your conformities are. And there is, I mean, I have other paper in there where there's probably over 100 houses built in that subdivision on 50-foot lots. So for them to say that it's not right that it's a 50-foot lot, it's not, that's incorrect. There's plenty of proof that 50-foot lots are definitely buildable.
Okay.
There's Supreme Court law, one in Muskegon and one in Port Huron, where judges have ruled, the Supreme Court rulings say that any lot that is plotted out in a subdivision is considered a buildable lot. There's 2 Supreme Court rulings on the same thing, and I'm just letting you know now that they're there. And if you read the old paperwork, it's in the old paperwork that I supplied that to.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just want to build a house, and, you know, I mean, my mom's ready to retire, and this money's really going to her. You know, I mean, she's almost 80 years old, so it come time, you know, she's owned the property since 78. You know, and we pay taxes on it, we pay to have it mowed, we're the ones that take care of it. I'm the one to pay all the taxes and stuff on it. So you're depreciating the value of that property to zero by what she says the property's not buildable. That's, why am I paying taxes on it then if it's not buildable? That's against the law, you can't do that to me. You just can't do that to me.
All right, thank you.
All right?
Is this gentleman with you? Does he want to say anything? You're good? Okay. All right, I want to open up to the public. We're probably going to come back with you with questions, so.
Okay.
Open up to the public. Would anybody want to speak on behalf of this?
Yeah, I do.
Name, address, please, sir.
Terry Lupker, I live at 1470 Ladd Road.
Okay.
I live here in the village for 55 years, so just so we're getting it correct. My family's lived here for over 80 years, so. And what you said about the buildable lot size, I want to know if this is denied, how can you be letting somebody right now in this village building on a whole lot size that's smaller than the one he is saying is there? And I know this for a fact because, and I have the paperwork and I can prove it
What's the
in the
address?
court of law because I was given the job to put the helical piers in it.
What's the address?
I don't know the exact address, Penny Lake Drive.
Okay. You're talking about the one right next to the water?
Yeah. And you cannot consider the water as part of the lot.
No, but I believe that lot
And
actually
I
runs
can
into the
prove
water.
to you too, that your building inspector's full of crap.
Hey, let's-
Because,
hold it,
listen,
hold it,
because of
hold it,
this.
hold it, hold it.
Because of
Hold it,
this.
hold it. My turn. We're not going to insult anybody.
All right,
We're
I'm
going to be
just not
professional.
insulting,
Sir,
but-
let me speak, please. We're going to be professional. We're going to be cordial. If you're going to insult people, I'm going to have to cut you off.
That's fine.
Proceed.
Because in order, all these things are happening around this village, it's happening to me personally too, is because I don't know why or who's getting away with what they're getting away with around here. But that man that put the helical piers in that you let build on that lot of property has to have an engineered proof that he put 1,800 PSI for each pier that was put in the ground. Well, I know the man that put the piers in, and he was never requested those permits.
What does this have to do with this lot?
Because it's a buildable, non-buildable lot, that there, you let that happen. And all I'm saying is, if you're not gonna let him do that, how could that guy get away with that lot on that certain spot?
I don't know anything. I would assume you're right in regards to the PSI, but I get that's not.
But
right.
no, but just any of that, but I'm just saying that whole lot is a lot smaller lot than what he's saying there.
Actually, I don't think that's correct, but go ahead.
It's not correct?
No, I don't believe it
That matter was never before this board, so.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually it was.
Oh,
That
it
was-
was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think you're, matter of fact, I'm pretty sure you're not correct, but.
Yeah, it was setback.
Yeah, this, yeah.
Well, setback, but not for size of the lot.
No,
Uh,
no, no. Never talk about size of lot.
I don't think size was brought up.
It's just
Could be
setback.
wrong. I think it was setback.
Yeah. Don't forget, he has all that property that goes all the way to that water.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So you're saying that that lot is the correct size?
That lot is a buildable lot.
So it's 9,000, whatever.
It must be, or else it would have been addressed.
It's, I can just tell you
Sometimes
it's larger than.
it can be deceiving where there is a water, because the water's edge does fluctuate depending, so if it's platted out, that's where the lot lines are. So that's all I can tell you, but it's not before the board right now anyway, so. I mean, if you want to go talk to the village administrator about that, to get.
I got a
help
I got a
yourself.
blueprint for it, so.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure he'll be happy to take your call.
I'm just saying, I got a blueprint for it because I was asked to do the job, so.
Okay.
I'm just saying that that's, if what she's saying, the 9,000 square foot, that is not a 9,000 square foot lot.
Well, the
Now,
blueprint
unless
isn't
you're
the survey.
considering the water as part of it, which I don't know, and your guys' rules, okay? Because they vary. I mean, to be honest with you, and this isn't to be you guys go by a set rules that probably every township around here does, but you interpret that rule as you guys see fit in reality. So I don't know what yours is, so your interpretation of that lot size is.
I don't interpret the lot size. That's not my job.
Somebody here interprets every
That I strongly
ordinance,
suggest go.
every ordinance that gets done.
What I'm
That's all
telling you is
saying.
go talk to the administrator if you have a concern about that. But
No,
that is
no, no,
not
I'm
what
not
he's
having, I'm
about
just
to
saying, I
continue.
don't believe that that is correct, but if it isn't, then that's all I'm saying, is that,
Okay.
that, I feel that that lot size is no smaller than that one is.
Okay.
So that's the only reason I'm
Okay.
saying that.
Thank you.
And I didn't mean to insult him, I'm just saying that.
It's all good.
I think things happen around here for a reason, and
Okay.
they've happened, and it's not always right.
Good. I don't
So-
disagree.
So that's all I'm saying.
We're all good. No worries. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Randall Frudelis. I live at 31828 Glen Street, Westland. For the note, I feel like the village is a very beautiful place to live. I would love to build a home on that lot. If you guys want, drive by. It's just a vacant lot with a bunch of houses. I mean, it would be an addition to the village. Taxes paid, revenues paid, I'd love to maybe someday raise a family. It'd be great. Building a house as a learning experience and growing up and learning all the skills associated with that. I would greatly appreciate it. It would be a beautiful home.
Okay.
That's all I
Thank
have
you.
to say.
Appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay. Anybody want to speak against this?
I do.
Floor is yours. Name and address.
Good afternoon. My name is Bianna Hamby. I'm here on behalf of Jennifer Ferris and Susan Troyer. They live or own the property at 2162 Terrapin. So first I'd like to add that this issue has been decided by the appeals board in 2002, 2004, and 2016. In order for a decision to be overturned, there has to be extraordinary circumstances presented. It doesn't appear, listening today, that there have been any extraordinary circumstances presented other than the circumstances that were presented at the previous hearings. So therefore, due to that, there should be no reason for any appeal to be overturned or reheard. But if the Board of Appeals would like to hear the dimensional variance issues, some of them have already been presented. One is the setback requirement. The setback requirement is very clear. It explains that the property line needs to be 25 feet and 30 feet. Their propositions are not that. In addition to that, for the specific single-family residence home that they're wanting to build on, the square foot requirement is 9,000 square feet or 75 feet wide. The lot sizes just don't call for that. These people have owned this property. They bought it in 1975, and they built the home in 1976. At the time, they could have decided to combine the joined lots, separate them, build two properties. They didn't decide to try to build anything until after they actually sold the property. They sold the property in 2001 to a family. The family at that point in time had sort of different issues with the property and then sold it to my clients. And until 2002, they haven't tried to make a variance or try to build on it. So from 1975 to 2002, they've done nothing to try to make it bigger, to try to put two lots on it, to try to combine the properties, to try to do anything. Now in 2002, this is the first time they came to try to build on this property line that there isn't any room on. We have pictures from what they attempted to create, and you can see where the property line is. You can see that they're trying to build a house about 10 feet away from the house that's already there. It doesn't, let alone with the ordinances, let alone with the variances that are no longer, that are in violation of the variances. You can see that it's a hindrance to the neighbors. You can see that it inhibits their enjoyment of the property. It's so close. You can see how close it is to their house. That's what they created. We just took a picture of what they created.
That house has a 5-foot variance from the property line right there. That's why it's so close. The house she lives in, it's a 5-foot variance they got to the property line.
I'll let you,
Is what it is.
let me close up.
You know, the purpose of this, the purpose of the ordinance is to protect the use and enjoyment of the property. If the variance is granted, that use and enjoyment is going to be inhibited from the neighbors because they bought this property knowing that this variance that the ordinance existed and that no properties were going to be built on either side of them. That's why they bought the property. If you allow this variance allow them to build a property that's right on top of theirs, that entirely inhibits their ability to use their property properly as they purchased it. Because they purchased it knowing that there was nothing to, or there was the inability to build on either side of them because the ordinance prohibited it. So for a variety of reasons, I mean, one, no extraordinary circumstance exists that would, today, that it didn't exist in 2002, or didn't exist in 2004, or didn't exist in 2017. The argument is the exact same. Therefore, for that reason alone, it shouldn't be allowed. But if you are going to listen to the appeal of the variance, there are so many reasons why it shouldn't be permitted. It inhibits the spirit of the ordinance. It inhibits the ability of the use of the property by the neighbors. There's a variety of reasons why it shouldn't be permitted.
Good, thank you. Anybody else? How are you?
I'm Carrie Tucker, and this is my husband Eric, and we live at 2185 Terrapin, across the street from the said property in question. We agree with everything that the woman before us just spoke about, but we would like to add, for one, that when they purchased, according to the meeting minutes from 2016, when they purchased that property in 1978, the ordinance was already in place, and they were well aware that the property was not buildable. And they were also told at another meeting, actually a couple of the meetings, that it was a non-conforming lot. It was not buildable because it only has 6,600 square feet, according to the meeting minutes, as opposed to the 9,000 required square feet. I also have, I do have a copy of a letter that I wrote that I didn't drop off prior, but if you'd like it for your records, I would gladly.
No, you being here is fine.
Pardon me?
You being here is fine.
Okay, all right. And so I wrote allowing a variance of setback from property lines of 12 feet and 27.5 feet with current setback requirements at 25 feet and 30 feet would put the home not far from the easement, and the home would be overcrowding the property. In addition, the ordinance 1250.06 R1B single-family dwellings lists that the current setback from property lines requirement of rear or lakefront minimum is 35 feet, which is contrary to what the notice of hearing is indicating, that it says it's 30 feet. That came off the website and says it's supposed to be 35 feet. So Ms. Liptow had been denied the variance at June 18th of 2002 and July 20th, 2004. And also the meeting minutes from the appeal made at the September 20th, 2016 meeting looks like it was denied as well. And during the meeting, Ms. Liptow was asked if she knew that the lots were unbuildable, to which she replied that she was unaware of the lots being unbuildable. But if she was denied in 2002 and 2004, she was fully aware that the lots were unbuildable. Lastly, we asked the board to just review the letters from the residents that were received regarding the same appeal that has been made previously. The letters that were sent prior to this hearing are from residents that are still in opposition of the appeal. And lastly, we thank you for the opportunity to voice our concerns. We ask the board that they deny the appeal. I believe my husband has a few things he would like to say.
Of course.
It's kind of odd that somebody would come in onto my property and measure that I'm 6 foot off the lot line, not knowing that I own 3 lots, not 2 lots of 50 feet. I actually own 3 lots of 75 feet. The house was built, very first house built in that subdivision in 1923. And it was added onto because it was a
was a cottage.
It was a cottage back then.
You're the house right next to it.
We are
I'm right
across.
across the street.
We are the Tucker house.
We are the
that
Tucker
he-
house that he.
He's referring to Tucker.
Referring to.
Tucker.
I am the,
Okay.
my family has owned that house since I was a child. My father lived there, my grandmother lived there,
Okay.
and it's on 75 feet,
Okay.
3 lots, which is what needs to be, to build on.
I
Okay.
didn't go on your property, I used satellite, but I know what you meant.
Okay.
You guys have these too? Yeah.
Yes, we do. We do. Thank you. Anybody else? I see no one, so we'll close to the public. We do have a couple of letters, which my secretary's wearing a mask, so I guess I'll do her a favor and read it. Whoa, who's the secretary now?
Bonnie could.
I guess that's me.
No, that's not. That's right. That's all right, I'll do it. Okay, Angela J. Williams Gorman, this was received on September 13th of this year at 12:40 PM in an email. Address 2244 Terrapin. I firmly oppose granting Audrey Lipto's request to construct a new home. There is a reason the village of the Wolverine Lake, I just read it, I don't write it, has ordinances. The vacant property in question is far too small of an area to have a home constructed on it. The zone ordinance requirements are clear, and Ms. Lipto's measures are far from zoning requirements. Please protect our neighborhood in enforcing the zoning requirements. Second one was received on August 11th of this year. Dear Clerk, how many times does Audrey get a do-over? She has inconvenienced everyone with her splitting her property up illegally and then having appeal after appeal. Her last one being in 2016, which I have enclosed. And if you go back, you will see how many more appeals. Is the fact she is friendly and kept up to date with one of the girls at the clerk's office have anything to do with this? Or when new people come in and don't know her history, then she can have appeal after appeal. Audrey is one that caused the problem by not selling the property with other parcels. Let's not forget we have septics and sewers, and houses are better built on 75-foot lot versus 50. Does the Wolverine Lake not have rules and ordinances? She needs to be sent back where she lives and stops inconveniencing. I'm not going to read that part. It's bad enough that they have huge stacks of wood piled up along the sides of the property, which is a real sight to look at. Maybe your ordinance guys should go and do something about that. I'm against this totally. Signed, Neighbor.
What did you skip? Sorry, you skipped the part you said, you weren't gonna read.
Yeah, I don't read insults. I don't think it's.
What's the part of the insult?
It's an insult. But if you want a copy of it, I'll give it to you. But I don't feel it's necessary to read into it. Are you okay with that? Dear zoning committee members, this letter is in regards to ZBA case 21-711 for Audrey Lipto. We are writing to express our opposition to the setbacks requested for construction of a house on the vacant lot at Thurston and Terrapin. We realize she's trying to keep enough property for a septic and well, but the 12-foot setback would put the house practically on the street. We know this isn't the first time she's tried for variance to build a house, but the lot is just too small for a house and possibly a garage. Frank and Ann Heichel at 2211 Terrapin. This is from Timothy and Kelly Sheetra at 1330 Thurston. Based on the house in this area, this purposed house, I think the proposed house, in the vacant lot comes on at Terrapin and Thurston, Wolverine Lake, would be out of proportion to the ordinance requirements which work for this area. Therefore, we are not in favor in amending the ordinance to build the house. And that is all I've got. No, wait, I have another. No, that's not for them. That's all I got. All right, so we're closed. That's everything. I'll give you copies of all this stuff.
I got a copy.
You got all of them? And, sir, if you want a copy, I'm happy to give you these. Okay, discussion. Question for me, why are we hearing this again?
Because you decided to, when there was
Who's
back
me?
in
Who's me?
2016, the ZBA did.
I was on the ZBA. What did we do?
So you voted, if you look at the minutes from that, it was back in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there was extraordinary circumstances needed to be presented, but you granted the request
Okay.
to allow him to present a new, I guess, in the only way that it could have been granted was that he said he was going to present a new plan.
But you know, I know that's very well, but I guess, you read that.
What's the property, it was sold as a whole.
And what he was saying was,
I can't hear two people at once.
what he was saying was, people were saying, my mom purchased all the lots at one time. It's just untrue. My mom purchased 3 lots where 2162 sets now. And then when she purchased that and they built the house, then she purchased lot 6 and 7.
Yeah, I remember, you and I actually talked about this
Right,
before.
and then she purchased 1 and 2. So she never owned all them lots at one time that were vacant. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People think that she owned all these lots and then built her house in the middle. It's just untrue. It's, you know what I
So when your mom bought all these lots, so the house was built, obviously, and she bought the house and the lots.
3, 4, and 5.
Right, so the ones at the corner.
No, it's
No,
3, 4, and 5,
3, 4,
it's
and
like in
5.
the middle.
Right, so
then
1
she
and
bought them in the
2.
middle.
So when did she buy 1 and 2?
She bought 1 and 2 in 1978, not 75, 78.
Okay.
78 is when she bought it.
So when did she buy
And the
3?
house was constructed and finished in 1976.
When did she buy 3, 4, and 5?
She, 1974 is when she bought 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
The house was constructed
In
and
76.
completed in 1976 as the sidewalk that the old guy tore out, because it's on where she's saying where she lives, they had a 5-foot variance on that. My mom didn't own that lot at that point.
Okay.
She hadn't, you know what I mean? So in that sidewalk, when that was done, when they poured that, when the house was complete, it was 1976. I remember as a kid, right, 1976.
Oh.
And what they're saying is that she owned all of them at one time. She didn't own them all at one time. That's
Okay.
just untrue.
Was there an encroachment issue? Wasn't there some litigation?
When, what happened was, is the guy before, I can't remember her name, bought the house, he tried to sue because he didn't have a survey done. And my mom and dad both told them that there's a 5 foot here and 10 foot on the other house. Well, when he ran a line down and he got mad and he tried to sue my mom and dad for half of that lot. Well, the judge said, well, too bad for you, you should have had a survey done, you bought what you bought, and it was dismissed, it was thrown out of court, is what it was. And then she bought it, and then we talked to her about building a house, and I talked to her personally one time and said, well, think about building a house there, and she told me at that point, years ago, well, I came from the city, so I don't really care if you build a house there or not, but now, all of a sudden, it's an issue, so that's, I mean, that's fine. But, I mean, what they're saying is it's just untrue that my mother owned all 7 lots at one time. She did not. She owned 3 lots. The guy's name was, who built the house, Tom DeRocha, was the guy who originally built that house and pulled all the permits for it. And built the house, and then she bought 6 and 7, and then she bought 1 and 2. After, she bought them on land contract, is what she did. All,
And
right.
then to address your question, you
It's
had,
all before the new ordinance was
Right.
yeah, right, but you had another question, and you said something, but I didn't hear you. Something about value.
Oh, yes, the property value. If it is an unbuildable lot, it's worth essentially nothing. Nobody would buy it, right?
Who is that?
Oh, you have to name an address, because we don't know who you are.
My name is Stan McBride. I live in Brighton,
What's your address?
12488 Martin.
Okay, thank you. In regards to valuation, yeah, I couldn't really answer that question now, but, you know,
Well, he's paying taxes on property as it's.
I don't disagree with you, yeah. I mean, there's definitely a value there.
Eminent domain, you know, they just can't take property and devalue it to nothing, and it's just.
And like I said, I mean, if you look at, I mean, I can go through here and find a map where I got it based out, every house in that subdivision built on 50 foot, and there's a bunch of them built on 50 foot.
There's been grandfathered.
And there's grandfathered in, I mean, in your paperwork that I gave you, it gives you examples where even in 1989, where they grandfathered things in. You know, right here, to fortify the grandfather clause in the case, quote, October 20th, 1998, Thompson asked Kelly if this should be considered as a grandfathered lot. Kelly stated he felt so, that they have owned the lot since before the village was incorporated.
And the same with the system.
And it, I mean, so, it should be grandfathered in my, you know, she got a 78, and your bylaws came in 1982, is when they decided that you're supposed to have 30 foot from the side and so many, because I gave you even, here, hold this thing. Even in here, I even gave you, the bylaws right here.
Yes, I saw that, yes.
Okay,
Let's-
that's the bylaws.
Let's not
that
re-
should
let's
be
not repeat the
presented,
last one.
Right, for this piece of property, because this was pre-1982, that I could be 3 foot from the side property lines, you know, and that's probably how Mr. Tucker, because the Tuckers, when I grew up there, and probably his grandpa lived there, and his grandma lived there, that I got along with great, they were great people, other than all the cats they had.
Okay. That's good to have cats. All right, thank you. We may come back to you. Questions from the board?
When was the lot split?
There was no lot split.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
That's
I've read it a few times.
That's what I was trying to explain, that my mother bought 3, 4, and 5 from Tom DeRoche, which was a builder, had her house built, and then the vacant lot was 6 and 7. She bought that on a land contract, and then I think, and then 1 and 2 she bought from a guy that lived down the road, and I can't remember, but I mean, I remember being a kid when she was
Okay.
selling, but everything was on land contract.
Okay.
You know? That she assumed, I mean, they bought them, you know, thinking that in their future, that they would, you know, sell the lots or build houses or whatever they wanted to do to make money.
There are lots of this size that there are. Okay. Kathy, any questions?
I guess my question is there sewer in the area?
No. No, we only have, I live in this subdivision, not within the 300-foot radius, but I live on Del Monte, so we have sewers on Del Monte. I don't believe there's any sewers in front of this. Speak up.
I just have one more question. As per the 2016 meeting, there were notes that indicated that in 1978, when Ms. Lito purchased the property, that she was aware of the 9,000 square foot requirement for building. When was that square foot requirement put into the ordinance or into the bylaws?
It would be the ordinance.
Because it said that she was aware in 78.
I think it was 82.
Okay.
But I would have to research that for you. Based on the information I've heard tonight, I'm taking a best guess of 1982, but if I'm wrong, I apologize. I don't have time to look at it right now.
I was just going on from the last, or from the 2016 meeting minutes. So-
Yeah, and I was in
Yeah, I
that
saw
meeting,
that.
so yeah, I'm pretty sure we talked about it then. I think it was 82. But again, I'd have to do a lot of research to find out.
December 1981 was when it was originally passed.
So 1982, there we go. Okay. You have questions? Ladies?
Is that 50-foot requirement specific to this neighborhood?
No,
It's general to the village?
I believe so, yes.
Yes.
Now it is. Wasn't that, there are many homes in the village that have 50-foot lots.
Right.
Many, but this all changed. Keep in mind, those homes were built 50s, 60s, 70s, probably even early 80s, but this law came into effect in 82, so things changed, like everything else, things just change.
With the 75-foot frontage is what it's. is in-
75-foot frontage is currently, yeah.
So just so I understand, so if someone owned a 50-foot lot with a house on it,
You'd be in the same boat he's in.
and it burned down,
Different story.
and somebody bought it and wanted to knock it down and build a new one, you'd have to buy 2 lots?
Your first example would be a different story. Your second example would be probably the same boat he's in. Because the first example would be as a hardship, my house burned down. Matter of fact, I was in that hardship because I had one like that. Because my lot wasn't conforming, but I was on the lake and still am, and my lot was not technically big enough to build because of the promenade. So when my house caught fire and was damaged beyond 50%, it had to be torn down. I was given a variance based on the fact that I was living in the property and it was a natural occurrence that the house burned down.
There's specific ordinances that address non-conforming structures and what happens, or non-conforming uses, what happens when those are terminated, or, you know, and for what reason they're terminated, and what percentage of them, if it's like a building, what percentage is destroyed, how much you can repair, how much you can change, if you want to add on to a non-conforming, there's rules for all of that kind of stuff.
Which ordinance was that?
Non-conforming.
I don't know off the top of my head the number of it, but you can look it up in the code of
There's no
ordinances.
such thing as non-conforming anymore. It's non-existent in the law.
Okay.
You want me to show you? I'll show you the paperwork.
I'm not gonna get into a legal discussion
These-
right now, but.
These right here are all 50-foot lots that they're marked out. Everything in pink is a 50-foot lot, this and this.
But do we know when the homes were built on those lots?
Yeah, every one of them, you can see them. I mean, they're in the neighborhood, but they're individual houses built on 50-foot lots.
Right, but we don't know the date of the.
We don't know the
Were they
construction
built-
date.
Were they built
Oh, okay.
prior or post 1982?
Well,
No, we don't.
property was purchased 1978, wouldn't it be by the same laws?
Not-
No. Is what they did.
In,
If you
No,
choose-
as I was just saying, a house that, for example, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
A house that was, for example, built in the 50s or 60s or 70s, that has a whole different set of laws than what you're dealing with now.
Right.
What are you, you're quoting some law? I'd like to, what law are you quoting?
I'm not quoting a law. What I'm saying is previous ordinances obviously allowed these homes to be built. Now, I was a child in the 70s, so I don't know the ordinance.
Right.
But you can look it up. So that ordinance, whatever that was, allowed many people, which I agree with your map here, because I know this
Right.
neighborhood fairly well, that these homes were built.
Here's another one that originally when this all was platted out, every lot was 25 foot. You bought as many as you wanted.
Yeah, I believe you're.
Every lot was 25 foot.
But to answer your question, to the attorney's, I assume you're an attorney, to answer your question, I assume the ordinance was different back then because many homes were built on lots smaller than 75 feet. Now, I don't know the exact ordinance, but there are got to be at least 20 to 30, if not more, homes built on these 50-foot lots. Not only through this neighborhood, but through other neighborhoods throughout the village, as well as on the lake. So if you guys want to see this stuff. So,
That's non-conforming right there.
so as I had talked about this in 2016, to say it's a non-buildable lot based on size, I agree with. But there's also a lot of things that we allow to happen on lots that don't fit certain sizes and certain ranges. So while it's a nice piece of grass that sits there every day, a house that is providing taxable revenue is a bonus as well for the village. Being that looks like about 10 foot off the property line and 16 feet away from the house to the south, that's farther away than where my house currently sits to my neighbor. So I don't see how that's a major hindrance to that particular neighbor, being that many homes within the village don't have 16 feet between house to house. However, this has been heard a couple different times. I don't know what's necessarily different. I mean, obviously his measurements might be slightly different, and then.
Did you go over and look at it though?
Yes, sir, I
Where
did.
laid it out?
Yes, sir.
Did you
Yeah.
see how far it is off the road,
I
the
did.
property
I did.
lines and everything?
No. I did.
Where's the septic building going to go?
Hold on, folks. The public, we're close. Everybody had a chance to ask questions.
Yeah.
So we're talking right now.
The septic field is.
Septic field's gonna go on the back of the property, it's got more than enough space.
He did have to prove it one time.
Yeah, that is in here, yes, sir, yep, we do have
I
that.
still have the approval on it.
Yep. Now, that's approval obviously is no longer valid.
Right,
But-
because it's only good for 1 year.
1 year.
But I talked to them and they said, come in and just reapply.
That was in '05?
I started, 05, yeah, 05.
Okay.
128 of 05 is when is what it says on it.
So he's got enough room for a septic, he's got enough room for a well. I think part of the problem that he has is that as the Thurston kind of dips down to the west as it crosses over his property. Because he's got more depth in the back than he does in the
What
front.
if it was oriented off of Thurston instead of off
Shorter
of
than-
Terrapin?
Can you do this to me?
Sure.
About the unconforming.
Thank you. Yeah, so like I'm saying, from here coming down, I said if it was a square, I still don't even know if it would get to 9,300,
Right.
9,000, I should say.
There's like 11.
Yeah, is that from here? You just-
Excuse
Is that for us?
Excuse me, sir, how big is your house plans, how many square feet?
No,
Oh, I thought you were doing something.
No, I'm trying to look up something, I don't have anything
Okay,
yet.
that's what I
just
thought.
wanted to look at his conforming stuff.
Yes, sure. Molly, what was your question?
We just were asking how big. Size of the house that they're
What was it?
planning.
I'm sorry.
1,162 square feet, it's on yours too.
Yeah.
I know I saw it somewhere. Okay, we can.
Yeah, two-story house, you're at 2,200 square feet.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
First floor.
First the front, right now.
Yeah, so it's not a huge house by any
No,
means.
it's not.
And the size of the house isn't necessarily the issue in regards to the, again, the lot's technically not big enough. If the lot was technically big enough, the house wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
But, because you could shift the house around a little bit and it would be fine. The problem is there's only so much you could actually build because,
If the driveway came in off of Thurston, and the septic field was on Terrapin side instead.
I don't think you can do that because this would be a Terrapin address.
It is a Terrapin address.
So I think you'd have to have the front door facing Terrapin, not Thurston.
Oh, the lots are assigned that way? With the-
I don't know if that's,
I don't know.
Well, the front door, wherever, typically, whatever your front door faces,
typically.
that's your street. Now, not everyone,
Right.
because you could
Right.
renovate.
Right.
But let's say,
Typically.
in new
Initially it was,
construction,
yeah.
in new construction, I've
Alright.
never not seen it that way.
Okay.
In many,
Yeah.
in every city I've ever worked in, I mean, have you ever seen it different than that?
But the lots are sold with it only being able to have a driveway access off one of the streets on a corner situation like that, or?
In this situation,
They do?
if Tim was here, he could probably
Yeah.
answer, I don't know.
Right.
But I still don't think that would necessarily make a difference, because the lot technically still isn't big enough.
So are we talking about the lot size, or are we talking about
But
setbacks?
it would
Yeah, I
alleviate
mean-
the,
I'm confused
one
on
of the
what we're.
setbacks.
I
Well,
think you need
we're talking
to
about
decide
both.
on.
But one's not part of the, one's not on the docket.
Well, as Leanne was stating earlier,
Right,
You
but,
I-
you need to consider that in
okay.
any,
it should have been
in
on
any
this
approval of
docket
setbacks to say, well,
that this wasn't big enough. The
Okay.
lot wasn't big enough. In the other ones, that, again, I sat on the one in 16, but not the other ones, that was part of the docket, was not only the setbacks were not correct, but the size of the lot was also too small.
I mean, instead of making them come back for a whole nother meeting to determine setback size, to determine lot sizes, we can, that's why I would suggest that you discuss it now. As part of your decision.
Now, there are homes in the village that sit on, now, not new homes, but homes currently existing, probably prior to 1982, that do sit on lots of this size. So, in fact, I know of some, so.
Mhm.
But times are different,
Mhm.
so we have to take all of that into account.
But that property was purchased with that intent, to build a home at some point in the future.
Yes, but as you know, I mean, laws do change.
We don't know,
unfortunately.
too, we don't know what, I mean.
And I can't speak to her intent in 1978. I mean, I don't know all the details from all that. But I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't know all the
I
details.
gave you the building restrictions from like before.
Yeah, we won't speak of the last one. Just for anybody to know, it talks about you have to be a certain race to own a property in the village of Wolverine. So obviously that's changed, thank God. So, all right, what else? Other questions? If not, we'll go through checklist. Nothing? All right. Nish? You got something?
I guess, would we feel differently if the setbacks fell into line? Is that an appropriate question? Like, would we be having this discussion? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, would we be here right now if the setbacks
To
weren't
be
in?
honest with you, the setbacks are not dramatically off from what we've approved in the past. I think, to me.
So would we be here, would it have been
You
just
would-
approved if the setbacks were in line?
No.
buildable.
No, because you still have, you
No,
still have.
because of the size, and it was an
Technically-
oversight that it did not
Technically,
get put on
an
the agenda.
unbuildable lot based on
Right.
our required square footages now.
So there are two issues.
No,
two-
his-
Had the home been built when the lot was first purchased?
Then it would be a different
It'd be
story.
Correct.
Yeah.
Story. But,
The
we
property
can't.
was purchased, if I built a house in 1978, it would be no problem.
And just to point out too, just so you know, ordinances don't get, although it is very unfortunate that a lot of
Things don't get-
times people aren't aware, but there's only so much that governments or whatever villages, cities can do to notify residents of what's happening. And so when the ordinances were enacted, they had to follow the strict procedures, which included notice of this happening. So it wasn't like it just happened like this, and there was no notice that, hey, there might be changes happening that are gonna limit buildable sizes on lots.
Yeah, but it was 1982. I mean, the notification of the general public was much different than it is now.
Well, life was different, everything was different. So you didn't expect to have internet notification. You would look to other places, is all I'm just pointing out, that
No,
there is,
I don't-
that is out there as well. That it's not like this was done in some underhanded way to deprive.
Well, yeah, but it was, I mean, if it was purchased in 1978, but the property wouldn't be a grandfathered in, because, I mean, I got plenty of cases that I've showed you that this Wolverine Lake Village had granted illegal splits of 62 foot and
Well,
stuff like
I'm
that,
not,
so.
that's not before this board right now, so.
That's fine, but it's still set a precedence, am I right or am I wrong? Once you set a precedence, you can't
I-
tell somebody you can do it, but you can't no more.
I can't say that it does, because every condition,
Yeah,
every
with that, every
circumstance
ZBA
is different.
Mark, every
You know
ZBA
better
case,
than that.
Mark,
Once you set a precedence, you know how that works.
Mark, every ZBA case does stand on its own merit. So, we could have two neighbors that come with what they feel is the same issue, just to give you kind of what we've dealt with. Every case has its individual rights and wrongs. I'm sorry?
How's that not discrimination? What's your reason?
Well, that's, I believe, the state of Michigan. So I think that'd be something you'd have to take up with them. But I mean, that's what we've always been taught and always been told. Now, if that's not correct through the state of Michigan, well, then I'm sure we'll happy to change that. But, I've been on this board for almost 20 years, and this is how I've always been told, is every case sits on its own merit. So if that's incorrect, I think our attorney can speak on this, that is accurate, correct?
No, it's correct. We have to take all the board is tasked with taking the various facts that are particular to each case and evaluating them, and, hopefully in a best case scenario, this should be applied evenly, the same standards, but I can't say without having, two cases sitting next to each other, and they're different board members, they maybe have different reasoning throughout the years, and, that's.
And equal is not equitable, or equitable is not always equal when you're making decisions because of all the factors.
I mean, in some cases, perhaps, for instance, and this is just, I don't know if this happened, I'm just throwing it out here, is if it was closer to 1982 or closer to the time change and someone had already hired an architect and was relying, that's a different set of facts than someone coming in.
You know what I mean? What happens is I only have so much money to battle. You know what I mean? And once I run out of money, I gotta quit battling. As soon as I get money, then I can battle again.
Okay.
And now I'm to the point where I got enough money, I'm gonna battle this to the end until I do put a house there. I guarantee you that right now. And I will do it. It will be there.
Well, let's do this. Let's close to the public. Let's go through our checklist. Unless you guys have any other questions.
Nope.
All right, agree or disagree that the special or unique conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, which are not generally applicable to other land, structures, or buildings in the same district. Kathy? Part of the circumstance that exists or the
That's a
size.
tough one. I guess I would have to say agree to that, because there are, part of the lot complies, part doesn't, and not a lot of other lots have that same unevenness in the boundary. So if there's any basis, I would say it would be that.
Okay. Mark?
Sure, I'll agree, same basis.
Okay, Sal as well. What do you think?
I'm gonna agree, and just add that it's a corner lot, so that it has a uniqueness to it.
Bonnie?
Yep, same.
Gentlemen?
Same.
Yep, same.
Okay, agree or disagree that a literal interpretation of the provision of the zoning ordinance? I do have a question. So, the square foot of this lot is not real technically in question in writing. Do you want us to put this in play, or should we just, what is here is here?
I would suggest that you use that in your reasoning. So yes, put it in play if you can, because you know that. Yes, it's not specifically stated, but they're gonna have to come back for that reason, because it's
Because
not,
it's still
it's not a buildable lot. and
Okay, so we're actually doing them a
as it
favor,
is.
is what you're saying, by addressing it now.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry, agree or disagree, the literal interpretation of the provision of the zoning ordinance would deprive the applicant of the rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the same zoning terms, and that the variance would be no necessary. Kathy?
I would agree with that.
Mark?
Disagree, it's unbuildable.
I would agree with that. There's similar properties that have been built in the past.
Agree for the same
Bonnie?
reason.
I'm going to disagree because it says under the same zoning terms.
Okay. Jens?
Disagree, zoning terms, size of the lot.
Okay. Mark?
I'm gonna agree for the same reason you and Aaron had.
All right, 4-3.
Okay, so just so we get those reasoning down again, what is
The reasoning in regards to, for the agreement, from my perspective, is the existing properties that are already have been built in the past in that neighborhood would be one. And secondly, I believe some of the setbacks that they're asking for, we've addressed and approved in the past. So I don't think what they're asking for is unreasonable based on what their setbacks.
Okay, and then
What
disagree.
about, does anybody
No,
differ
that's
from that who
exactly-
agree?
No, that's the reason for mine.
How about disagree? The folks who disagree, what are your?
Size of the lot, buildable.
Size of the lot, and it's 2021, not 1980, or 1975.
And it talks about properties in the same district under the same zoning terms.
Yes.
Yes.
And they're not under the same zoning terms.
So new zoning rule.
New
Yep.
zoning
Okay.
rules.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
3, agree or disagree that the special condition and circumstances do not result in the action of the applicant, they are not self-created. Does anybody agree with that? I mean, they're self-created because they want to build a house.
Yep.
Right.
and
Right.
We have different rules now.
Yep.
Does anybody
Correct.
agree with that?
No.
No.
So I can put 7 disagree?
Yes.
Based on current ordinance, is that okay?
Yes. thank you.
Yes.
If I could write today, we'd go a lot faster. Okay, agree or disagree, the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this ordinance.
Disagree.
Kathy?
I would say agree.
Come back to that one. Mia?
I'm thinking,
Okay. Bonnie? Do you want me to come back to you too? Guys?
I'm gonna say disagree, reasoning being the request to build is so far after the ordinance change.
Mitch?
Yeah, same reasoning.
Yeah, even the initial request is 20 years later.
I'll agree with that. So, what do you think?
I'm gonna agree.
Okay. So 2 agree, 6 disagree. For the folks that are agreeing, can I ask why? So we have
5 agree or disagree.
5, I'm sorry. Did I say 6?
Yep.
I'm sorry. 2 and 5.
Well, I think that they're pretty close on where the
Setbacks.
setbacks are.
Yes.
Okay. Agree or disagree, the variance will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the general welfare? Kathy?
I would have to say disagree on that just because of the number of complaints or, opinions expressed in opposition to it that are in the direct neighborhood of the property.
Okay. Mark?
Same thing.
I'll say the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
So that one's unanimous. Agree or disagree, the spirit of this ordinance shall be observed, public safety secured, and substantial justice done. Kathy?
I agree.
Mark?
Sure, agree.
Agree with that?
Agree, yep.
Agree.
Bonnie? sense of that? So we're just, man, good. Approve this tonight. He
Mhm.
still has to come back. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Because somebody upstairs didn't include something in the, or was it not written up correctly?
Yes, it just didn't get written up as the prior ones, and the applicant didn't catch it either. So
All right, so we're,
either the applicant or.
so we're not talking
the
about the
office.
size of the lot.
We're just voting on the
We're just
variances.
voting on variances for setbacks.
Okay.
So I guess, take what we've been talking about, size of the lot out of your head.
But, I mean,
But you
again.
can use that as the
using
factor.
that as part of your reasoning, but it's not specifically in the motion. But if you, as you had discussed, feel that because of the size of the
But I
lot,
can- but
the
hold on.
setbacks are
I
not
can
appropriate.
penalize him, but I can't, that doesn't seem fair to me. I'm penalizing him by saying, in the back of my mind, I'm saying no because of this. It
Well,
doesn't,
that's up to you. I mean, I
Okay.
can't tell you.
Yeah, I
I'm just-
understand. It just-
I'm just giving
it
suggestions,
just,
but.
to me, I think if you're gonna have something, if your thought process was gonna be something, it's either gonna be all or nothing. It's either I'm gonna have it to either be a positive or a negative, not just one. That's just my opinion,
Well,
but
let me make sure the applicant understands what the issue is.
I think
that
they've heard us, so.
Your prior, you do understand that the prior, all the prior appeals deal with also the lot size itself.
Well,
But in this specific, the way that the request for the variance was noticed, which is, a requirement to give public notice of what you're asking for, it didn't include, for whatever reason, which was an oversight, and I guess you didn't notice either, that it was the specific lot area was not included in the specific wording of your variance, what you're asking for.
well,
So.
back in 16, that wasn't, they said that they weren't really worried about that. If you
I don't
read
think.
the notes back in 16, they gave me a request that I could come back in front of the board.
With new plans, and then
Yeah.
they would examine the entirety of your
Exactly.
request, which would include the lot size, not
Okay.
just the setbacks.
Are we able to make a motion to add it to this? So that it's on record as being added to tonight, so they don't have to come back
Mhm.
with another request?
I don't think we can.
I don't think we can.
I don't think we can. Because
They
it's-
need to be published.
It needs to be
Yep.
public.
Because,
Give that- I mean-
because public has the right to come and voice their opinion.
A note on that specific
Mhm.
item, so we
So-
just wanted to make it.
All right, so all we're dealing with is just setbacks. Okay, so ZBA case dash 21-711, vote to approve vacant lot corner of Terrapin and Thurston, basis for the appeal 1250.06A, setback from property lines, R1B, 25 feet setback, applicant proposes the 12-foot and 27.5-foot setback to construct a new home. Ordinance requires a 25-foot and a 30-foot setback from Thurston and Terrapin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And I'm going to use 1, 2, 4. No, 4 did not carry.
Oh, 4 did not carry.
6. 1, 2, and 6, please. We have a motion, we have a second, we have our variance checklist completed. Can we have a roll call, please?
Toronto,
No.
Claiborne,
No.
Moretto,
Yes.
Tupper,
No.
Duff,
No.
Minoletti,
Yes.
Ingram.
Yes.
What is that?
4 to 3.
4 to 3 what?
No.
Okay. Did not carry. So,
Okay, so what do I do?
I'm sure the gentleman sitting next to your left can probably help you a little bit more.
My acquaintance?
Yes, your acquaintance.
All right.
Good luck, Mark.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's give it a second so we can let this kind of clear out. What's that?
Just that there was a lot of things that we could
Really long case.
Long ones are good. Makes it fun. No. It is what it
So
is.
that part of the deal.
We have to open the case.
Yes. Give me 1 minute. All right. Are we good? All right.
Take your time, relax, breathe.
Motion to open 21-712.
Wait a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Walter and Deborah Kemmer, 928 Wolverine Lake Drive, basis of appeal 1250.06, subsection A. Boy, we really seem to get that one all the time, don't we? Setback from the property line, R1 LLAP requires 25-foot front yard setback to the street, where the average of the adjoining parcels, the average setback is 44 feet. And a 37.4-foot setback is proposed to construct a new home. Mr. Kemmer, I believe?
Kemmer, close
Kemmer,
enough,
excuse me.
yeah.
Name, address, and what would you like to do, sir?
I'm Walt Kemmer, 928 Wolverine Drive. My wife and I almost bought a home in Wolverine 30 years ago when we first got married, so we absolutely love the place. So we just bought a lot, lot 73, and it's going to be our retirement home. And the plans that got rejected were based on the front setback. So we're requesting that to, instead of being the 44, be a 37.1 for the following reasons, okay? As everybody knows, designing on a narrow lot has its challenges. The neighbor next to us at 916 has 3 lots, 70, 71, and 72.
Yes.
His home is excessively large and built in the opposite direction that most homes are built in the Wolverine area. And so we are looking at his front and rear setbacks and how they impacted our property, basically. Okay? Because our lot's front and rear setback averages are impacted so negatively by the home, we are seeking a variance on only the average front setback. We are requesting it to be 37.3 as proposed instead of the 43.8, calculated average per the ordinance. The homes on our stretch of street with 40-foot front lot lines average somewhere between 33 and 34 feet, as personally measured by me with a laser. We exceed the average by approximately 3 feet for all of those 40-foot comparable lots. We do not need to seek any other variance as the home plans meet the side variances and the lakeside variance. The same holds true for the plan. It's a very modest home size. It's not 4,000 square feet that we're trying to put on this 40-foot lot. And the footprint is 1,470 square feet for that first floor. Okay. Design is submitted for approval. Was our third design iteration prior to going to the county, and we had to reduce the side setback by additional 5 feet due to an Oakland County new ordinance that requires serviceability for septic tanks and grinder pumps and wells. So because we've got to put those in the rear of the home due to the rules that prevent us from being within 40 feet of those, there's no way to put that well in the front or the grinder pump. Okay. By doing this, we lengthened the garage because it got more narrow. The current garage design, the current garage, which was built in 1997, is actually in pretty good shape. We were hoping to keep that. As it turns out, it is non-conforming in the situation that it is too. So we are now, we have the added expense of tearing the garage down and moving that garage over. The current home has been abated for asbestos. The wells have been capped. I'm waiting for a permit for shut off for gas and electricity so the home can be demoed for the new construction to occur. The garage it's 64.5 square feet in total larger than the old garage. It was designed so it houses 2 cars with swing clearance and a little bit of front storage space for lake and lawn equipment that's needed to maintain the home.
It has an additional 4 parking spaces on the driveway plan, so we don't force street parking. So in this circumstance, it's really an unusual thing because of this large home next to us and that front and the rear setback. So a rear design, or a new design would force us to go back to the architect, back to the surveyor. The cost of product is going up excessively, so that lead time is really impacting us if we don't get the variance. On page 3 of the handout that I gave you, you'll see that the neighbor's home to the right of us, his vision is only impacted by about 3 degrees. And by moving the garage further rearward, it really doesn't help in that the other garage and the shed next door on the other side are still in that view and that sight line. Okay, so based upon that and the documents that we proposed, we've really tried to hold our neighborhood of value, and during the design we made sure that we tried to impact the neighbors' views of the lake as little as possible, but still gain what we wanted to in the home. So basically for the appeal, I've got these 5 things. We have shown constraint on the size of the home being built on this lot, as it is average in size and it means sufficient off-street parking. The data confirms our position from requiring our home to meet an average front setback or just the 2 adjacent neighbors in this unusual circumstance is not represented of the intent of the ordinance. And requiring our home's front setback to be rearward 9 feet from other homes on similar size lots is unnecessary, as we should be granted the same privileges others have on comparable lots. Being able to store what is necessary in our garage and keeping our neighborhood more appealing should be the goal of every single ordinance in the community, and we have taken all the steps we can to minimize the effect of our new home on our neighbors throughout the process. Okay, you'll see that there was a letter included from the one neighbor, and the other neighbors here, I'm sure that he's going to speak for or against it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is
Whoa, whoa, whoa. When I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, would you like to add anything? Okay. I'd like to open up to the public who would like to speak on behalf of this.
Actually, I'd like to welcome these guys to the neighborhood. They're awesome people. We had them over for tiki night. They know we're good people. You know what the lake's all about.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry, Robert Beal, 934 Wolverine Drive, next door neighbor.
Yep.
Actually been on the lake for 32 years, and at one point we probably had 7 family members on the lake. You know, our lake life is special here. And the views that when you come out the door wall in the morning, you look to the left, look to the right, look out front, you know, you can't put a price on that. I'm with Walton Dever and their request, you know, for the front road setback. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with
Let me
is-
interrupt you, though.
Yep.
Let me just interrupt you real quick. I know where you're going.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're discussing, though.
Okay, if this is not the place, you...
No, hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
What's in front of us is their front yard setback.
Yep.
Reading your letter,
Yep.
more of your concern is their backyard setback.
Correct.
Am I correct in that statement?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that fits within the ordinance.
Okay,
So
I understand that.
We're not discussing that portion here.
Okay.
I will let you say your piece,
Yep.
but I'm just telling you that's not what we're discussing here.
And then maybe you could direct me to where I need to take that. Is that a legal
Upstairs,
thing after? or
to the
is it-
village,
Village?
village upstairs. But, you know, it sits within the ordinances that we have.
Oh, you're
For
correct on
side
that.
setbacks as well as rear setbacks for water.
Correct.
We're only hearing the front yard setback. So I'm willing to let you talk. I just want you to know what we're dealing with.
All right, well, I'm good with the portion that they're looking to do. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Even though it's starting to squeeze a little bit tighter than what it normally would be between the 2 garages. I understand the parking situation. It'd be nice to get 4 cars in the garage.
Yep.
I mean, in the driveway, that type of thing. My part was to let them know that I had maybe some kind of a resolution that maybe could help this out, if I would agree to a little bit more on the offset, on the backside.
Well,
I know
unfortunately,
you're only
that's not-
talking about one
That's
thing.
not really, well, that's not really you agreeing to something. They're okay doing that.
Yep.
So it's not really what you want them to do, it's what they can do based on our ordinances.
So, with that being said, I know you'll listen. My only concern is, once the final build is done, I understand it's about 21 feet total to the end of the deck or the balcony or whatever it's gonna be, is that correct?
You know what, to be honest with you, I didn't measure because that's not what we're looking
All
at.
right.
I don't have any of those measurements. We only, when someone brings something in front of us and say, this is what you're looking at, this is what we're looking at.
Okay.
We don't look at, if everything else back here is good, our building inspector would
I
say,
got it.
look at this. If he doesn't tell us to look at it, then he's telling us it's good.
Okay.
So I can't answer your
I
question.
can appreciate that. You guys are doing the only part of the job. My final thing is that my view is greatly obstructed from the kitchen part of our house. If I were to look out, I'll just see a massive deck.
Okay.
Or a massive balcony, whatever that's gonna be, which is higher than ours.
Okay.
That's really what it's all about. And I have a way to work that out if you guys want to talk about it or an idea,
That's
but
between
that's
you
totally
two,
between
it's
us.
nothing to do with us.
We would happily talk to them.
Oh, I know.
Then you guys can have coffee at some point and figure it out.
All right, well, I'm good. Let them build their house because they've been getting
Thank
beat
you.
up pretty bad.
I appreciate it, thank you. All right. I got one more read.
Correspondence.
Yeah, one correspondence. So close to the public, because we don't see anybody else in the audience. This is from, my neighbors Walt and Debbie Kemmer have discussed their proposed home by showing me the plot, plan, and drawings. At the time of this letter, I was not moved into my home and unable to receive mail at the below address. Therefore, I've written this letter for them to supply the Village Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm in support of this proposal and do not see any reason not to grant them the front variance they are requesting. That's from Vladislav Namastinkov? Navzikov. I'm so sorry.
Oh, say it.
My apologies to them. 916 Wolverine Drive, and I believe that's the new house that they're building.
Big white one.
Big one. All right, so I'm closing the public, open to the board. So really, we are just discussing the front setback of the garage. I'm sure you all went out there. He's basically lining up his garage with his neighbor's garage to the west. I think it's west, depending on how this is, but yeah, I think it's west, how that's positioned, sort of west. And the letter that was in here stated from 934, their concern was a little bit about the garage settings, but it sounds like he's okay with that now, so that's really what we're concentrating on, is that portion there. So questions for the applicant? Feel free, I'm good.
Allergies this week have been crazy.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm just
Yep.
highly allergic to goldenrod, and it just so happened to be blooming this week, so I've been like dying all week. I don't have COVID though, I've taken the test.
Come back soon, I'm good.
Yeah, the only thing that messed up his setbacks was the fact that Vlad's house.
The new house.
Is wide, and
Yep.
they have the luxury of building this way and not this way, so they're in conformance with the rest of the street.
Yeah, I mean, if the new house would have been pushed so far back, this wouldn't even be an issue.
Exactly. Go further down Wolverine, there's houses way
Oh,
closer to the road.
oh, God, they're on top of road. So, okay, so if we have nothing, I'll go through the checklist, because Mark's struggling here with some allergies. Either that, or he's gonna give me COVID, one of the two.
Tested, I'm good.
Preferably A and not B.
Don't even say that.
Goldenrod season.
All right. Agree or disagree, the special or unique conditions and circumstances exist which are procured to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not generally applicable to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. Catherine?
I would say it's kind of unique because the lot next door is set back from the road. It's oriented differently to the roadway than the other houses.
And there's a few lots over there of that size. So you'd say yes?
Agree.
Mark?
Same.
Does anybody disagree?
Nope.
Agree.
Okay, so 7. Agree or disagree, the literal interpretation of the provision of the zoning ordinance would deprive the applicant of the rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district and in the same zoning terms, and the variance is minimum necessary. Kathy?
I agree.
Mark?
Agree.
Does anyone disagree?
I agree.
And that's because there are other properties that have garages similar or closer to, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
On the same street.
On the
Yep.
same street. Thank you.
Next door.
Agree or disagree, the special condition and circumstances do not result from the action of the applicant, they are not self-created. They're self-created, right?
Yeah, they're built.
Yeah.
Disagree.
All right, because obviously he's proposing to build a new house, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Yep. Agree or disagree, the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this ordinance?
I agree.
Does anyone disagree?
Agree.
And that's because of other existing garages?
Yep.
Yes.
Agree or disagree, the variance will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the general welfare? Does anyone disagree?
Agree.
Agree.
Agree or disagree, the spirit of this ordinance shall be observed, public safety secured, and substantial justice done. Does anyone disagree?
Nope.
Agree.
Why is that?
It's not injurious to public safety.
Okay. Okay, I'll do a motion to approve ZBA case 21-712. Lost my page.
Everyone except for number 2, I think.
Yes, to allow them to build their garage with a setback of, remind me, I don't have it in front of me, I apologize. 37.4. File. With using dimensional variance checklist numbers 1 through 6. There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have roll, any discussion?
Nope.
Roll call, please.
Moretta?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Claiborne?
Yes.
Trongo?
Yes.
Ingram?
Yes.
Minneletti?
Yes.
Summer?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
So it's 37.
Right.
Yeah, so it's 4.
I got .4. So you get an extra .1.
For the, yeah.
I just, we go by what they write.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to have a little conversation with upstairs because to get little things figured out, but you guys are all set. I believe our building inspector may or may not be out of town, so maybe give him a day or two, go talk to the girls upstairs, find out about your permit, but you guys are ready to go. Best of luck, welcome to the neighborhood.
So the only one that comes out to look is the building and stuff? Is that what it is?
I'm sorry, say that again?
So the only one that comes out to look at a project is the building and stuff?
Initially, yes, initially,
Or
yes,
the
but not,
code enforcement.
you're saying team, are you saying us?
Oh,
No, we all
yeah.
go out and look.
Yeah.
We look at every
We go out and look at the
Yeah.
variance.
Only if there's a variance
Only if there's a
required.
Variance is
variance,
required. Not general.
Not generally, yeah.
Well, look, thank you. All right, Mark, anything new?
Yeah, our treasurer quit.
The new person?
Yeah, a weekend, decided it was too stressful, and quit. So we are.
Maybe we should hire Mike back and offer him more money, because he seemed to really like the job and was here for a long period of time.
He's still here, and Mike is not happy, and Mike won't be here a very long time. So we're trying to come up with something.
Anybody know anybody who wants to be a village treasurer?
Is that the person who took the place of the lady who passed?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So, again, it was kind of a shock to everybody.
And in 2021, that does not shock me.
No, again, that's pretty much the
Bigger, better job.
Yep, so.
That's what I was looking for. This is what I want to,
That's gotta be
Just so happened that she did.
Is it like full-time job?
I will take care of this. I will find an
It is
address for that.
typically like full-time, 40 hours.
It's gotta be on record.
Make sure you keep
Yes,
all,
I will take care of
all of that. Craig.
Yeah, we gotta keep all that.
What's that?
We gotta probably keep all that.
Well, this is his.
Oh.
He gave me this, and and that's what I was looking for as the other gentleman was talking, because I didn't think he had taken it back, so I will drop this off. The previous one dropped off a bunch of stuff for us to look at, and he didn't take it back, so
Yeah,
I'll drop it off.
don't we
to
have
the
to
front
enter
desk.
that in the record? Take a
I
copy
don't-
of it?
I thought he gave it to you.
Reviewed it.
Gave it, yeah.
Let us borrow
I
it.
think it was more of a borrow, but I'll tell you what, I'll make copies, give them, and then drop them off to the upstairs. I'll make copies at home, and then I'll drop this off upstairs in an envelope, and they can, I'm sure they have his address, I'll throw some stamps on it, and they can mail it
Perfect, thanks,
over.
guys.
Okay? All right, so we don't have a treasurer, is there anything else?
No, that is the excitement that's going on right now.
All right, awesome. We do have 2 cases for October. I want to quickly disclose, one of them, I am going to be within the 300-foot radius. Is that an issue? It's not for me.
Do you
but
know them? I mean.
I have met them. Would I say I know them? No, but I
Do you
have
have
met
a
them.
conflict with that, really, other than being in the
No.
300-foot radius?
No, I
So-
think, I don't know what they're proposing. I've seen mistakes, I've heard rumors, but I don't
Yeah,
know anything.
Let me double check on that, but I'm saying initially, I don't think so, but I will check and let you know right away, so you can plan accordingly.
Yeah, I think I've met them twice.
Is that the new house that's going up with the vacant lot that's a couple down from you?
So other than just being within that 300-foot, that's it? Yeah.
For me, I
Okay.
have no other issues.
Okay, let me.
From my perspective.
There's
Get
one
back
in
with you.
November, I know that's on the docket, that I will have to recuse myself. It's my next door neighbor.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just make sure.
For what
we'll-
it's worth, yeah.
So you know, you have advance notice, I guess. since
Is
the
anybody
neighbor has
not
one
here in
in-
October, which the date would be, and I don't have my glasses, can anybody see what the date would be in October? Third Tuesday?
The 19th.
19th. Does anybody have an issue with the 19th?
I don't know yet.
Well, yeah, your schedule's
Well, that's my busiest time of year, so.
Well, maybe you should quit. No.
I did.
Oh,
Not
no,
my
your
job.
job. Join us. Look how much fun it is.
I heard there's a
So if
treasurer
you
job
can't
open.
be here, that's okay, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so we're fine.
Oh, I'm not gonna be here.
So we have 5, so we're still good.
Okay.
It's just if we don't have 5's the quorum. So if you're not here and you're not here, it's important the rest of us be here. For some reason, if you're not going to be here, you have to let the village know ahead of time. For
Yeah, I'll
me,
let you
that would
know.
be fine. But I understand COVID could pop up, people could get sick, I mean, that happens. But if you know something, please let us know. And then November
16th.
I will not be here.
16th, you have hunting, so you're not here. I don't hunt, I go to Kroger.
I may run into the same issue as Aaron, where we know the same case very well. Those.
Know him and live next to him are different stories.
How far away are we from you guys? Probably just over
Probably,
300.
You might get a notice.
Well, if you're
1,
friends.
2,
I mean,
3,
yeah.
4.
Their daughter babysits my kids, like.
Yeah.
They were swinging on my swings today.
They will.
I mean,
We're swinging on his swings
Oh,
today.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could always push them to December, because he'll be back,
Mhm.
Yeah, if we have to.
and she'll be back.
I'll be back. I'll
Yeah.
be here in November and December.
Oh, you're here in November, who, wait a minute.
Just
Oh, he's not here, that's right.
Tough, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't care.
Jot that down then.
I mean,
yeah.
normally, we don't have a meeting in December because it's the holidays and there's nothing going on,
21st.
but,
So the 19th, Kathy will be gone.
no,
October 19th.
Right.
October 19th, Kathy's gone.
And then you potentially, which I'm gonna check in, Craig conflict.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be here, but unless someone tells me not to. And then the 16th of November, Mark is definitely gone, and then we have 2 potential
And Kyle's
conflicts in
maybe.
Aaron and
I'm
Kyle.
for sure out.
For both of them.
Aaron is
For
out.
at least the one
For November
case.
16th.
At least the one
Well, I mean,
case.
Oh, and
technically-
Kyle's
hold on.
definitely out for November
Technically, if you
16th.
allowed me to do like a hybrid meeting, I'll be more than willing to join.
I don't
By
care.
Zoom?
Zoom?
Yeah.
Oh.
Perfect. I don't care.
We did
Yes,
that
we.
7 o'clock, you can't hunt.
Yeah, true.
Legally.
I've done
We won't tell you.
I did one last year.
So,
Well, yeah, check with the administrator, because up until the end of this year,
Yeah,
for
so the
any
end of this year.
reason,
Yep.
Yeah.
not for
Cool,
illness.
then we're good. So, you're gonna check into that, all this stuff for us?
Okay, yep.
Okay,
yep.
and I'll take care of
So
this stuff.
November 16th, though, for sure, Kyle has.
Let's
a-
say the 16th, these 2 are out.
And
Yeah.
Aaron.
Yep.
For sure, I'm out.
So 1, 2,
Conflicts.
3, we would have 5
I'd rather do that than
in
have to
November.
have one in December.
I would rather not come in December.
Yeah.
And then, okay, then for,
But yeah, it's to the end of the
Unless
year.
we have a
I'm
case.
almost positive.
But in the past, we have just said, we don't want to hear cases in December, you can't build in December.
Exactly.
We would rather wait till January because people are out of town.
yeah.
We have done that. Matter of fact, I think every year I've pretty much been on the board, we've not had cases in December. Is anyone not going to be here in December?
I'll be here.
I think I'll be as far
I
as
mean, it's
know.
hard, it's the
That's hard to
19th, it's the
know.
week of Christmas. It's the Monday before, no.
As far as I know.
Tuesday before Christmas.
All right,
So-
well, we'll hit that when we get to it.
Okay.
So
Well,
we'll
we'll
just
figure it
deal
out.
with these 2. So on the, for the October, though, we really just wouldn't need, we don't need a Zoom for that.
No, November.
Just for the November for March.
October, even if I'm not allowed to sit on it, you'll still have 5.
Gotcha.
Oh, no, you'll have 6. No, you're not going to be here.
I will not be here at the October.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we'll have
so
at
you'd
least
have
4 or
5. Okay.
If that's the case, then
And as
Aaron
long-
would have to
yes,
take over.
Nothing comes up, so.
And I get this, because I think there's 2 cases, so I'd have to sit in the audience. Depending on whether it's first or second.
Right,
So,
okay. Ah, okay, that's right, you wouldn't have to be recused for both, so.
Nope, just one.
Yeah. Oh, and
Um,
same with you, Aaron.
It would just
and
be the one-
Kyle.
it would
Yeah,
just be the
same,
one
it's
case.
just the one case.
And we don't know if there's any cases, there's just one case in November, right?
Well,
You think there's a case
She
in
just
November.
knows
I
because
just know
she's
that
got
they-
inside info.
Yeah, they
That's
missed
her
the
name.
cutoff to come in front on October,
Okay.
so
So
she
we
said
don't-
they were coming in front in November.
Okay, so there may be 1, there may be 2, who knows?
Yeah.
If they get their paperwork in on time.
Well, that's what I heard, the reason why one of our October cases, the one for me, is that they missed their deadline.
Mhm.
Is they thought it was the following Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah.
and they didn't turn. This is what I heard from my neighbor right next door. Hey, they're coming in front of you, and no, really, they're not, because they didn't come. All right, if anything
Yeah, so I'll
else,
check on all that.
we'll adjourn, because Mark's got to go home and blow his nose.
Yeah.
See you all, thank you.